President Obama criticizes Congress for not taking a lead on the debt crisis talks. For some reaction, we're pleased to be joined by South Carolina Senator Jim DeMint, one of the leaders among conservative Republicans. Welcome to Newsmax again, Senator.
Thank you, Ashley. It's pretty amazing that the president is criticizing Congress when he has not proposed any cuts in spending. In fact, the budget he sent over a few months ago increased our debt by $10 trillion. It's really incredible that he's now coming into this thing criticizing Congress.
Obama was adamant that there has to be revenue increases as well as spending cuts to narrow the deficit. Revenue increases, of course, code for tax hikes. Now, he targets millionaires, billionaires, oil company executives, hedge fund managers, as well as corporate jet owners as people who couldn't afford to pay more. Is he being divisive there, do you think?
Well, he's not making any sense, first of all. You can look at tax rates over the last 30 years. You can change tax rates all you want, but the revenue is going to stay at about 18% of our economy. The only way really to grow revenues is to improve our economy. And the things that this president has done has made it more and more difficult for businesses to add employees and to grow their businesses. I mean, we need to release our energy resources in this country. That's tens of thousands of jobs. Fix a tax code. There's so many things we could do, get the regulators off the back of business, and the increase in the economy is the way that we can raise revenue. So I am for increasing revenues, but just raising the price of gasoline, which is effectively what he's proposing, or making it more expensive to manufacture in our country by taking away some of the business deductions, this isn't going to help our economy, and it isn't going to raise enough money to make any difference. We need to cut spending. Since 2003, Ashley, we've increased spending by 60%. Revenues have increased 20%, but they can't keep up with the incredible level of spending that this president and the Democrat majority have thrown on us. And of course, you Republicans are culpable in some of this spending over the years too, so we all need to sit down and figure out those things that we can cut here at the federal level.
Is there a scenario where Senate Republicans would ever consider a tax increase on the wealthiest Americans, and are they risking anything by not considering it?
Well, normally when they're talking about wealthy Americans, they're talking about small businesses, because a number of small businesses take their income as personal income. So when you're talking about people over 200,000, you've got thousands, tens of thousands of small businesses across our country that you're actually just taking more of their revenue. You're taking more of their ability to create jobs. So we're being taxed, the people who are paying taxes in America, at some of the highest rates in the world. Americans who pay taxes pay more, as far as the top 10%, than any other country in the world. So we don't have a revenue problem, and for them to keep going back to, oh, we need to raise taxes on the rich, first of all, we won't get any more revenue. Second, the rich are paying their fair share. And third, if we really want to grow revenues, we've got to improve our economy. But the key thing right now is just reducing spending. The president has increased spending at an extraordinary rate, and that's where we need to start. That's where the country knows we need to start. And what we need to do ultimately, Ashley, is balance our budget. The only permanent thing we can do to change this culture of a spending addiction that we have is, like 49 states, is to have a constitutional requirement that we balance our budget in Washington.
Obama has said if his daughters, age 13 and 10, can get their homework done in advance, grown men and women in Congress ought to be able to settle issues such as the debt ceiling question without taking them down to the wire. Does he have a point that this matter should have been settled before now?
Well, I've found kids don't do their homework unless their parents tell them to do it. And when you've got a president who is AWOL, who's out campaigning all over the country, raising money for his reelection, making irresponsible statements like, oh, we're going to default on our loans, and doesn't even send one proposal to cut one thing, the president has no right to be criticizing anyone in Congress for not taking leadership. It's his job. He was elected to be president, and he's just been incredibly irresponsible.
Would you vote for any deal that includes raising the debt limit?
I would certainly consider it. In fact, I've signed a pledge that I would oppose any increase in the debt limit unless we do three things. We call it cut, cap, and balance. First of all, we need to cut spending significantly this year. Second, we need to cap spending and spending rates over the next 10 years to bring us towards a balanced budget. And third, we need to pass a balanced budget amendment to the Constitution, send it to the states. Let the states and the people decide if we need to balance our budget, because that has to be ratified by 2/3 of the states before it becomes law.
You say you would not support any presidential candidate who does not pledge to support a balanced budget. One possible Republican candidate you've already written off is John Huntsman, former Utah governor. Why?
Well, I have very few litmus tests, but we don't need anyone else here in Washington who doesn't understand we've got to stop spending more than we're bringing in. That means we have to balance the budget. And this pledge to cut spending and cap spending and balance our budget is, to me, the most important issue that we have right now as a country. And any presidential candidate who's not willing to not only verbally support it, but to commit to stand for that and fight for that, I don't need a president like that, and I don't intend to support one. There's still time for a lot of these candidates to sign the pledge. Just about all of them have. And there's some pledges that are good and some pledges that are bad, but this one is essential.
You told The Hill a few weeks ago you're considering a run for president because conservative activists want you to. What is your thinking right now?
Well, that's not what I told The Hill. I told them I was not running. I had no plans to run. And they asked me, what do you do when people encourage you to consider it and pray about it? And I said, out of respect for those people, I do pray about it. But I have not changed my mind, and I don't have any intentions of running for president.
You realize they quoted you as saying you were?
I realize they did, but that was not true.
South Carolina Senator Jim DeMint, as always, a pleasure, sir. Thank you so much, and good luck to you.
Thank you.
And thank you for watching Newsmax TV.